everybody. This is Dr. Osborne with the Gluten-Free Society, and I have a special interview with Dr. Louise Gittleman, who is one of our medical board of advisors. Welcome, Dr. Gittleman. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time to talk to our audience and communicate with our audience.
I'm very happy to be here, Dr. Osborne, and I thank you for the wonderful work that you're doing.
So can you share with us your academic and clinical background?
Yes, I have a master's degree from Columbia University in nutrition. I'm a certified nutrition specialist from the American College of Nutrition and a Ph.D. in holistic nutrition. So I have a varied background in both integrative and functional medicine and clinical nutrition. I think I have a foot in both worlds, to be quite honest with you. I was the director of nutrition at the Pritikin Center in the early 80s, so I saw firsthand the devastating effects of a high carbohydrate and a high wheat/gluten diet.
So what kind of experience led you down the path to looking at gluten as a potential agent in disease?
Well, it was my experience really in the early 80s, Dr. Osborne, as the first director of nutrition at the Pritikin Center. I began seeing people that were having wonderful results in terms of their blood chemistry by alleviating the wrong kinds of fats, too much sugar, too much salt. But on the other hand, I was beginning to see the rise in certain autoimmune conditions. I saw individuals with rheumatoid arthritis, problems with depression, more osteoporosis, not to mention the bloating and the aches and the pains. And so I decided to go out on my own after I worked at the center and did some testing for nutritional allergies and food sensitivities. And lo and behold, those that had been on a high carbohydrate/high gluten/wheat diet were very sensitive to wheat. It was coming up on those testings. So I began realizing that there was a lot to be said for a diet that was very high in carbohydrates that focused on certain grains, including wheat. So I put people on a wheat-free diet, and voila, their symptoms started to disappear.
And so in those, what the spectrum of what you saw disappear, because a lot of people come in and think that, celiac disease, and they use celiac disease kind of synonymously with gluten sensitivity, but what I hear you saying is you experience people who maybe not even necessarily were celiac, but were showing a benefit of going on a gluten-free diet?
They were, and in those days it was kind of like the gluten spectrum, so to speak. So I wasn't looking for celiac particularly. As I got a little bit more sophisticated in my career, I started to look for that a little bit more specifically. But I began to realize that celiac in and of itself is a very difficult disease to diagnose because its symptoms don't always point to the GI tract. And the symptoms that I was seeing later on in my career included a variety of symptoms, from anemia to depression, short stature, the inability to grow properly, and even autoimmune responses. I learned that celiac sufferers are unable to absorb nutrients, so some of them started to lose large amounts of weight. They had a lot of untraceable diarrhea, bloat, and stools filled with fatty material. So when I looked into this more and more, I saw that this was a real issue, and then I wasn't sure if it was the glyphosates or the gluten or the mycotoxins. So I just put people on a complete wheat-free, grain-free diet, and voila, their autoimmune disease symptoms seemed to abate, thyroid autoimmune disease seemed to abate, and autoimmune-related autism was improved.
Well, that's fantastic. So the takeaway for anyone listening to this really is if you have an unexplained medical condition that's an autoimmune in nature, there's a potential possibility that a gluten-free diet might be a great move in the right direction.
Yes, because I believe that the gluten-free diet or the gluten or even full-blown celiac really is a trigger to microscopic colitis, to irritable bowel syndrome, even stomach and duodenal ulcers. And I truly believe, and I'm sure that you might agree, is that celiac or any type of gluten sensitivity along the spectrum makes us more prone to just about every autoimmune disease. I've even seen a connection with type 1 diabetes, liver autoimmune disease, the thyroid autoimmune disease, intense itching of the skin, and autoimmune-related autism. So my takeaway from all of this is that the diet plays an enormous role in anybody's risk of developing any kind of gluten-connected condition. I've even seen an increased risk of various cancers, like cancer of the intestinal tract or even esophagus. I've seen some of that just about disappear when sufferers follow a gluten-free diet. So I'm a big believer in getting rid of the gluten.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Gittleman, for sharing your input and your take on gluten as it relates to disease and health issues. And thank you so much for being a part of Gluten-Free Society's Medical Advisory Board.
Well, I think it's so important because so many people just don't realize how gluten and celiac, a full-blown celiac, are really issues triggering just about every disease known to man. And even if you don't have symptoms, removing this from the diet will bring untold health benefits.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Gittleman.
My pleasure, Dr. Osborne.